in the House. Thanks so much for being here. Really good to see you, sir.
Here.
So Speaker Johnson told Republicans that President-elect Trump wants Congress to pass his agenda on the border security, tax cuts, and energy in one big sweeping reconciliation package. House Republicans had difficulty staying on the same page when it came to electing Speaker Johnson, although he did make it. And I wonder, given that almost zero margin for error, one vote now, won't doing all of this in one massive bill make it tougher to get the president's agenda passed? Or
I'm for doing it in one bill. And this week is good evidence. Donald Trump weighed in support of Mike Johnson. I don't think Mike Johnson would be Speaker of the House this morning if Donald Trump wouldn't have weighed in last week, spent political capital to help him get elected on one vote. And to me, that's a positive sign that House Republicans are unified behind Donald Trump, the Trump agenda. They're hearing from our supporters at home. We have to get this done, secure the border, make our military focused on winning and fighting wars and strong again, make the tax cuts on working families permanent, the Trump agenda, get that done as quickly as we can. If it's one reconciliation bill, if it's two, if it's 10, we got to get it done. I think this week proved that we can do that.
So in the past, you have been critical a bit of the reconciliation process, which requires only 51 votes in the Senate instead of the 60-vote threshold. You have said that you've criticized Democrats for passing legislation, quote, on entirely partisan lines, unquote, and trying to, quote, ram a partisan spending bill down the throats of the American people. Not talking about the substance of the bills, but the process. How is this different?
Well, it's very different. If you go back to what the Democrats did with the Inflation Control Act, which actually increased inflation, the American Rescue Plan, which was the Green New Deal on steroids, the biggest expansion of the federal government since LBJ that happened through the reconciliation process. Jake, I actually expect that there will be Democrats who will come on board to support these efforts to secure the border, to make the Trump tax cuts on working class families permanent, which is what we're talking about in the reconciliation bill. I expect after this last election a historic mandate for President Trump winning the popular vote. Working class voters like my dad, a retired union factory worker that used to vote Democrat, who's now a Trump Republican. The Democrats lost voters like my dad because they're not focused on the issues that Donald Trump is. I expect there could be a number of Democrats who come on board with the reconciliation process and help pass it, because that's what the American people want us to do. And if the Democrats ever want to be competitive again, I expect they'll focus on those issues.
So you talk about the Trump tax cuts on working class Americans, but you're not. But the Trump tax cuts are not only for working class Americans; they're for everybody, right? Anybody who pays taxes, including people in higher income brackets like you or me, theoretically, right? I mean, so is it? You're not only talking about having the ones for working class people in that bill. It's all of them,
remember,
right?
go back to 2017. I was a freshman member of the House, and we passed the Trump tax cuts, making the corporate rates permanent,
right?
But not the rates on working class families, on the individual rates, the pass-through rates.
That's all businesses. That's all incomes levels.
Small businesses. I mean, that's what the reconciliation package has to include to make those tax cuts permanent. Otherwise, working class families are going to take a massive hit, they're going to have their taxes raised if we don't make those tax cuts.
I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just.
But I can't. But it's an important point, because I can't imagine that Democrats would vote against that.
Well, but my only point is that it's all of the income tax cuts, not just the ones for working class people.
I don't think Democrats want to vote against making tax cuts permanent on working class families.
But
I get your point.
Okay. So one other thing I want to ask you about, because we saw two very different violent images in the last week involving current or former members of the U.S. military. In Vegas, there was a decorated active duty Green Beret suffering from post-traumatic stress who took his life by blowing up a Cybertruck outside the Trump Hotel. And in New Orleans, obviously, the horrific terrorist attack carried out by a U.S. Army veteran pledging allegiance to the terrorist group ISIS. You're a veteran. You're on the Senate Armed Services Committee, the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. What is your reaction to this, the fact that these horrific acts were carried out? And obviously, it's not reflective of military or veterans, but still, these were two people with ties to the military.
Yeah, I served in Afghanistan, and those hidden wounds of many of our American veterans in Iraq and Afghanistan are real. We don't know all of the facts about both of these situations. What we do know, at least in the New Orleans attack, I mean, this was a terrorist attack. A ISIS sympathizer carried out a plan that was premeditated and killed American people. A terrorist attack on American soil, we have to take it seriously. We don't know all the facts yet, but we got to get down to the reality of the matter that we've had 400 ISIS smuggled people coming into our country that Department of Homeland Security told us about last summer, and 50 of them we don't know where they are. We don't know who they are or where they are, and we have to take that more seriously. I know President Trump will do that.
Obviously, the terrorist threat is multifaceted. But this individual, by all indications, was an American citizen, was homegrown. You said on Twitter that Trump was right when he immediately talked about this being an indication of how the border needs to be shut down. It's obviously, there shouldn't be terrorists crossing the border, but wasn't that premature given the fact that this was an American citizen? This particular case was not related to the border?
Well, remember, you have to go back to Obama called ISIS the JV team of terrorism, and obviously they're not. Trump came to office, he eradicated the ISIS caliphate, he killed it, he attacked it, he took it seriously. Biden turned Afghanistan over to ISIS-K, the worst strain of ISIS, an ideological group that is serious, that took over that country. And now we know that ISIS individuals are being smuggled over a wide open border. President Trump takes this seriously. One of his first acts after he's sworn in will be to go to the White House, sign executive orders to secure the border. But Congress has to do what it didn't do last time and make the Trump border policies permanent to make sure that we secure the homeland.
In the wake of the New Orleans attack, you're calling for the Senate to quickly confirm President Trump's national security nominees. I want to play some sound from one of those nominees, Kash Patel, nominated to be director of the FBI. This is what he said about the agency that's now charged with leading this terrorist investigation.
The FBI's footprint has gotten so freaking big. And the biggest problem the FBI has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops.
So a lot of the people he's talking about, the 7,000 employees that work in the building, are right now chasing down criminals, chasing down terrorists, investigating what happened in New Orleans, trying to make sure nothing like that happens again. What's your reaction to that?
I think Kash is right. I mean, the last 4 years, we've seen the leadership of the FBI be more focused on the political causes of the left, going after parents at school board meetings instead of going after and investigating ISIS members in America. I mean, the Jabbar in New Orleans had ISIS content on his social media account. We should have been more aware of that and planned to stop that attack from happening and going after him. And instead, the FBI has become way too bureaucratic, way too political. And Kash Patel is going to be a big part of cleaning it up. But never forget that Donald Trump is going to be the president. He's going to be in charge. He's going to instruct Kash Patel, and I expect Kash Patel will help clean up the mess.
Trump's Secretary of Defense nominee, Pete Hegseth, is going to appear before your committee on the 14th. ABC News reports the bipartisan leaders of your committee have requested more information about the 2017 sexual assault allegation against him, which we should note he denies, and he was never charged with anything. Your colleague, Senator Lindsey Graham, has said Hegseth pledged to release his accuser from the confidentiality agreement. Has the committee been able to speak to this woman? And if not, do you want to?
I'm brand new to the committee. We haven't had a single meeting yet. We have the hearing in a week with Pete Hegseth. I look forward to it. I fully support Pete Hegseth. He is eminently more qualified than Secretary Austin, who's in the job, who disappeared on the job, who instructed the disastrous, deadly withdrawal of Afghanistan and created a woke political mess at the Pentagon that Pete Hegseth is going to clean up. Pete is a decorated combat veteran, served in both Iraq and Afghanistan. He knows what's at stake. I fully support him. He's going to be great at the job.
All right. Thank you so much.